Thank you, Mr. Cochran. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say it's been a pleasure and an honor to serve as your Master of Service, and now it's time for the piece de resistance, the coup de grace, in the words of my late Baptist minister, Reverend A.J. Stokes. We have seen him, we have heard him, we have felt him, we have been inspired by him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former mayor and now president of the National Urban League, Marc Morial.
Thank you very much. And let's give Norman Robinson, give him some love, y'all. I know we've been here for a while this evening, but I want to ask you to just give me a few moments of your time. What is tonight really all about? It's really about us saying thank you. Thank you to all of you in this room. Thank you to all the men and women, some long gone. Thank you to those well-known and those unnamed who played a role in changing this city, transforming it, opening it, making it very different. I want to thank the very, very loyal team of friends, supporters, cabinet members who were led by Angel Wilson, who organized this tonight, and so many of you who just showed up and lent hands, and I just can't thank you enough for doing this. It means so very, very much. I want to thank all of the members of my family. Tom, we got additional generations of Morials and Landrews. A whole lot of them too. And I want to thank especially my wife, Michelle, who's been my rock, has been the very best thing that happened to me, gave me some good sense, some good direction, some good focus. Thank you so much. I want to also offer a very, very special thanks and appreciation to former Mayor Moon Landry. Because while tonight we have talked a lot about my father and me, this era of progressive, inclusionary, competent leadership started with his election in 1969. Because it was then that the courage that it took to knock down some walls and to put up with some criticism. And Mayor Landry, I want you to know how deeply my family and I and this community appreciates what you did way back when to start this era that now your son, Mayor Mitch Landry, is working to extend and expand. So let's give Mayor Moon Landry a big round of applause. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And certainly to Verna, an incredible First Lady in her own right. I call the names of AP Turo, Arthur J. Shabata, the Reverend A.L. Davis, the Reverend Avery Alexander, Dorothy Mae Taylor, Oretha Castle Haley, Judge Israel Meyer Augustine, Judge Revius Ortiz, Lolis Eli, Norman Francis, Albert W. Dent, Tom Dent, my late grandfather, Dr. C.C. Heidel, Celestine Cook, O.C.W. Taylor, Ernest Wright. Can you remember those names? Jack Nelson, Jimmy Comiskey, Jimmy Fitzmaurice, Moon Landrew, Sal Anselmo, John McKiffin, Edwin Edwards, Eddie Booker, Rosa Keller, and the names of this great honor roll of people who in a generation past, white and black men and women, had this vision, and not only vision, but the determination and the courage to change the city against great odds, at a time of difficulty, at a time of threats, at a time of assassinations. They began this movement to change this place that we treasure and indeed we love. Dutch's 77 campaign, I was 19 years old. I had returned from my freshman year at the University of Pennsylvania. I had this job at Bow Brothers, working as a laborer, making $7.50 an hour, getting dirty. And then I would go and work in my father's campaign. It came time to go back to school. I went back for about 3 days, and my father and I hatched a conspiracy. And that conspiracy was I was gonna come back to New Orleans and take a semester off from college to work in his campaign. And my mother was not happy about that. But my father said, after you left, my responsibility was I was running the lawn sign operation. And you know, those were in the old days, man, when you had to make your own signs, you had to screen print them, and it's all this heavy wood. And I recruited all these, I just recruited all kind of people. Had some ex-cons, you know, had some veterans, Vietnam vets, and we had an operation. My daddy called me and said, after you left, it turned into the Beer Drinkers Club. You better get back in. So I came back, but I had to make a promise. And the promise to my mother and to my father was that I'd still finish college on time, which thankfully I was able to do. But that campaign, there were names like Lewis Mason and Ferdinand Prout, Larry McKinley, who can't be with us tonight, but who I spoke with, and Gus Lewis, who had the radio talk show. Anna P. Johnson, who was, she was a megaphone and a microphone all by herself. And she loved Dutch. Reverend Joseph C. Prophet, Reverend A. Prince Fortner, Reverend Zebedee Britches, Novice Soniat, mother, Don Bernard, Paul Valto, Mary Ethel Sifkin, the late Harriet Burnett, Renard Rochon, Henry Bodenheimer and Joel Mitchell, who were business people from Uptown, Louis Charbonnet and Johnny Jackson, Jim Hayes, Ron Chisholm, Leah Chase. There were so many names of people who were part of that effort in 1977, in the very earliest of days. And we celebrate progressive, inclusionary, competent. I want you to remember that. Progressive, inclusionary, competent leadership. And in this era that I think began with Moon Landrew was a time when the Superdome was built. The Convention Center and the Warehouse District were built. Harris Casino emerged. The Aquarium, the D-Day Museum, the New Orleans Arena, the Canal Street streetcar, the Riverfront streetcars, the Navy Technology Center at UNO, and we can name a tremendous number of projects, but it happened on the watch of progressive, inclusionary, competent leadership in that time period when, yes, cities were suffering under the fiscal constraints that Tom Cochran spoke about, the great difficulties of the times and the roller coaster ride of the oil and gas industry here in southeastern Louisiana. But it was a time of incredible, incredible change. When we started in 1993 and began our effort, I remember we assembled to co-chair our campaign. We had Susan Clade, and Susan was a prominent lawyer and an openly gay lawyer, and it was important at that time, this is 1994, to have that part of the community represented in the top levels of leadership in the campaign. And some people said, what are you going to say when they say what? We had dear friend who at every step of my career has been so much of a friend, and that is former Lieutenant Governor Jimmy Fitzmaurice, who was also a co-chair. Cynthia Wiggins, who was a public housing resident and the chair of the Gus Low-Rise Tenants Association, and my very dear friend Bob Tucker. And the four of them, starting with Julie Schwamm-Harris, Angel, and Vincent, it was from that small group and Ira Middleburg and Bill Schultz that this 1994 campaign emerged, as we decided that we were going to work really hard to try to change courses in the city at that time. I am proud of so much of what we were able to do at that time. I'm proud of the fact that we gave children a voice in city government, because Nord had always been a stepchild, and it had struggled, and we energized Nord with summer camps, summer jobs, and did a whole host of things, and said we were not going to allow the budgets there to be cut in any way, shape, or form. I was proud of the coalition that came together to bring the Hornets to New Orleans, and man, they're gonna have a hell of a team this year. They're gonna be great. And most proud of what we were able to do at that time to make New Orleans a safer place. And the city is challenged with that struggle now, but police reform and public safety, and I'm so proud and so glad that we have been joined. They traveled here from Atlanta, a person who was essential and our partner in that effort, Superintendent Richard Peddington and his wife Renee. And I really want to ask you to give him a big round of applause. Richard Peddington. You know, the chief was a great chief and a great New Orleanian, and made a difference, and nothing we were able to do could have happened without his outstanding contributions to this city. So we love you, Chief Peddington and Renee. Thank you for being with us tonight. And there was housing, and there was jobs and bond issues and international summits, and so many of the things that we were able to do, working together. We had tremendous support from elected officials at the federal, state, and local level. I'm certainly very, very pleased that Senator Mary Landrieu is with us tonight. Very busy schedule, traveled here from Washington. We are so proud of every time you stand up. I see a little bit of moon. I see some Verna, and you are so appreciated. And Councilman Jim Singleton, stand up, Councilman Singleton. The councilman was a partner in every step of the way. We never lost a vote. He was there with my father, he was there with me, and one thing, Jim Singleton and other members of the council, if you're here, I didn't see you, but I want to acknowledge any member of the council who was here. But one thing about what I remember is, in working with Jim Singleton, is that every conversation was about what was best for New Orleans. and what was best for the city, and the sense of responsibility that went along with the thinking and indeed the decision making. So there was so much that happened, and I want to say to all of the people who served with us and who were part of the team, what I'm so proud of is to see where so many of you all are today, that you all have taken the time that you served and have gone on to do great things. A number of people, indeed, in the judiciary, Sheriff Gussman, a number of people in the private sector who you're doing so many incredible, fantastic things. And I can't say how proud I am every time I see you or hear about your successes. It just reaffirms how special the time we spent together really, really was. So I want to thank all of you for doing that and for being a part of that. Now, in searching through the archives, we found so many very, very interesting things. And one of the most interesting things we found is a poster from the 1969 mayor's race. And I want to ask Mayor Landrieu to just come here and join me. Mayor Mitch, you come on up too. Because I just thought this was great. We found this poster. Ramon and Dutch were on the ticket together in 1969. And Dutch was running for councilman at large. He didn't make it that time. But Mayor, I thought you'd love to have this because it just, I think, reflects that both of our families
thank you
tried to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I want to, as I conclude tonight, we always want to be purposeful. And one of the things we've done tonight is put together a love offering, if you will. And that love offering is a love offering for our favorite educational institution, and that is Xavier University. And that love offering, Dr. Francis, is now at 10,000. But I'm not satisfied with that number. So we invite any one of you who wants to add to that, because Xavier, where my mother worked for many, many years, the school of my father, where he got his bachelor's degree, a school where I told Dr. Francis how the only thing I didn't have in life was a degree from Xavier, and he gave me an honorary one. Is so special to us, and Norman Francis was indeed a very, very special friend of my father's, and an advisor to my father's, and at times when he needed it, he was the guy who could redirect Dutch when it needed to be done. And we just want you to know, Dr. Francis, we love Xavier University. And so a number of us are going to make this small love offering available to you. I know you need unrestricted dollars. Someone said, well, are we going to do it? I said, look, I'm in this nonprofit fundraising business now. And I know you need unrestricted dollars. So Norman Francis, please stand. We want to give Xavier a nice, big, special shout out. And thank you for your love and for your friendship. In the bags that you'll receive on the way out, they have the bags already? There are a number of things in there. There's a book, if you will. There is a pin, some pins, if you will. A number of things that we hope you will treasure along the way. So before I just say one final word, I want to take a point of personal privilege because, tonight's been about mayors. And I never believed that the mayor can be in the room without being invited to the mic. And I'm so proud of my schoolmate from Jesuit High School who's taken over the reins of this city at a time of great difficulty and challenge. And I think really in his heart and in his soul, this idea of progressive, inclusive, competent leadership is indeed what he's all about. So I want to give Mayor Mitch Landrieu a chance to just say a word before I close out this program. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mayor of New Orleans, Mayor Mitch Landrieu.
Lord have mercy. People ask me if things are changing in the city. And when a black man from New Orleans, who's now the head of the Urban League, starts shopping at Pearl's, I didn't get the memo, but Mark, I love you. I really do. I have a deep affection for Mark. I thank you so much for being included. I feel so really overjoyed and enveloped in this room for so many reasons. Tom, you weren't far off about the Landrieux and the Morials. I was going to wind up, when or how or why that didn't happen. But our families have been knowing each other for such a long time, and I can remember going to sit down with the late Mayor Dutch Morial when Mary was running for treasurer, and having a long talk with him about how all the children of the family knew each other so well. Mark and I go back to Jesuit High School back in the day a long time ago, and we have been knowing each other for that time, and I have counted Dutch as a mentor. And many people don't know this, but Marlon and I worked at Brook Morial, Casabria, and Pisa together when we were lawyers back in the day. And it has just been amazing and overwhelming to watch the history and to think about the shoulders that I've been able to stand on. Mark, and the benefit that we've had from Dad to you, and then Dutch and Mary and Mark. I have an easy job after having followed all of those folks. They really have showed the way, and it has just been an amazing night to look back at all the work that everybody in this room has done on the pathway that Mayor Morial has talked about progressive, inclusive leadership that yields. I say it in terms of one team, one fight, one voice, one city. And when we come together, there really is literally nothing that the city of New Orleans cannot do. And today, as we rebuild from Katrina, we're standing on the shoulders of everybody that has gone before us, and actually in front of the nation's eyes, becoming this nation's most immediate laboratory for innovation and change. And they are amazed at what the people of New Orleans have been able to do. Out of catastrophe has come a great success. Out of resilience has come one more strength of being unbowed and unbroken, which is a comment that Dutch used to make all the time. And it is just a beautiful reflection of what it is that we were and where we came from and where we're going. So I thank you. I want to ask God to bless you. The Urban League's National Conference would not be here. Mayor Morial has done everything that he could in his position as president of the National Urban League to help this city stand back up. He has never left. There's usually a week that does not go by that I'm not on the phone with him seeking his advice and his counsel. And although he is representing the best of America, his heart has never left and will never leave New Orleans. So Mayor, thank you so much. God bless you.
Just as we close, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together for our sponsors, the Life Organization, ART Janitorial Services, Coterie Group, Liberty Bank, Representative Jared Brosette, and Gumbo and Dessert sponsors, Cupcake and Company, Dookie Chases, Galatoire's, Lil Dizzy's, Mike's on the Avenue, the Oystermen Association, Ritz-Carlton New Orleans. Give it up for all of them. Our beverage sponsors, Coca-Cola and the Urban League of Greater New Orleans. Our program sponsors Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Sigma Lambda Chapter, Amistad Research Center, Bert Steele, Jane Jurek, Julie Schwam Harris, Karen Carbon, Katz in Columbus, La Belle Gallery, New Orleans Museum of Art, Printers Wholesale Group, Solomon Group, and Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. Give it up for each and every, indeed, one of them. And as the mayor mentioned, this week is special. The National Urban League's 2012 annual conference takes place here in New Orleans. And we're going to be treated with a visit by President Obama on Wednesday evening. We're very excited about his visit to the Morial Convention Center. And I want all of you to know that we would not be here but for one, Mayor Mitch Landrieu, two, Nolan Rollins, the president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater New Orleans. Stand up, Nolan, who's here with us, and his great leadership. And a coalition of business people and civic leaders and political leaders that you all put together. We still have room for the Urban League Conference. All of those all-access passes, they were left in the last century. I learned my lesson. So these days, you have to go online, take out your debit or credit card, and you can join us for the Urban League Conference. God bless each and every one of you. We thank you, look forward to seeing you, and there's just so many people, but I just appreciate those who've traveled, come from far and wide. Please just know how much we love, how much we respect, and how tonight is about saying to each and every one of you, thank you, thank you, thank you.